December 14th, 2025, 0417 hours, 112 nautical miles north of La Guaira, Venezuela, Caribbean Sea. The R-135 Rivet Joint climbed through 18,000 feet. Its 4 Allison turboprops humming in the pre-dawn darkness. Call sign Gizmo 71, 105 feet of gray aluminum and classified electronics cruising at 328 knots through Caribbean air thick with humidity and tension. Inside the fuselage, 24 intelligence specialists hunched over glowing screens. Linguists, cryptographers, electronic warfare technicians, their headsets crackling with intercepted Venezuelan military communications as the aircraft's dish antennas vacuumed up every electromagnetic signal within 200 nautical miles. This was no ordinary reconnaissance flight. For 3 weeks, the United States had been probing Venezuela's air defense network, stimulating radar systems, recording electronic signatures, building a complete picture of every surface-to-air missile battery, every command node, every frequency the Maduro regime used to coordinate its defenses. Tonight's mission pushed deeper than any before. The Rivet Joint would loiter for 6 hours at the edge of Venezuelan airspace, vacuuming up signals intelligence worth more than any satellite could provide. But Caracas had been watching and waiting. At 0422, Venezuela scrambled 8 fighter jets from 2 separate air bases. 4 Su-30MK2 Flankers launched from Libertador Air Base near Maracay, their twin Saturn AL-31F engines screaming as they clawed into the night sky. 4 aging F-16A Fighting Falcons lifted off from El Libertador, 130 kilometers to the west. The Flankers were Venezuela's crown jewels, twin-seat, twin-engine air superiority fighters purchased from Russia in 2006 for $40 million each, capable of Mach 2, armed with R-77 Beyond Visual Range missiles and R-73 infrared seekers. Their mission was simple: intercept the American spy plane, drive it away from Venezuelan waters, send a message that the Caribbean was not Washington's private hunting ground. What they did not know was that the slow, lumbering reconnaissance aircraft was not alone. 2 F-A-18E Super Hornets from the USS Gerald R. Ford had been shadowing the Rivet Joint since it departed San Juan, Puerto Rico 3 hours earlier, flying in complete electronic silence, radar off, transponders dark, running on passive sensors only. Their AN/APG-79 AESA radar sat dormant, revealing nothing to Venezuelan early warning systems. The Super Hornets cruised at 31,000 feet, 8,000 feet above, and 20 kilometers behind the reconnaissance aircraft, invisible to every radar station between Caracas and Havana. Call signs Viper 1 and Viper 2. Each Hornet carried 9 air-to-air missiles, 4 AM-9X Block 2 Sidewinders on the outer wing pylons, their infrared seekers capable of off-bore sight targeting through the pilot's helmet-mounted display, 5 AM-120D AMRAAMs tucked beneath the wings and center line, each missile able to engage targets at ranges exceeding 160 kilometers. The Navy called this loadout the Murder Hornet configuration, 4,500 pounds of precision-guided death designed specifically for situations exactly like this one. The Venezuelan pilots were about to learn why. 0431 hours, altitude 22,000 feet, Lieutenant Colonel Rafael Mendoza led the flanker formation, his Su-30's powerful bars radar painting the American reconnaissance aircraft at 140 kilometers. The target was fat, slow, completely defenseless. At least that is what the radar showed. His orders were explicit: close to visual range, photograph the American aircraft, buzz it aggressively, force it to turn back toward Puerto Rico. This was supposed to be routine intimidation, the kind of intercept Venezuela had performed dozens of times over the past decade. Approach fast, get close, make the Americans flinch. But something nagged at Mendoza's instincts. The RC-135 was flying a predictable racetrack pattern as if it did not care who was watching. as if it wanted to be found. His wingman's voice crackled through the radio. Radar shows no escort. The Americans are getting sloppy. Mendoza did not respond. His eyes stayed fixed on the radar screen. In 30 years of flying, he had learned to trust his instincts. And right now, those instincts screamed that something was very wrong. 47 kilometers to the northeast, Commander Sarah Chen monitored the Venezuelan formation through her AN/APG-79 AESA radar. The Block 3 Super Hornets sensor suite was painting all 8 approaching fighters in crystalline detail. 4 flankers, 4 F-16s approaching in 2 loose formations. She toggled her radio to the encrypted tactical frequency Gizmo 71 Viper 1. We have 8 bandits inbound bearing 215, 112 clicks and closing. Confirm weapons free status. The response came immediately from the Rivet Joint's mission commander, Viper 1, Gizmo 71. Weapons free authority confirmed. ROE Alpha, you are authorized to engage. If hostile intent is demonstrated. Chen smiled behind her oxygen mask. The rules of engagement were clear. Any Venezuelan aircraft that locked weapons radar on the American reconnaissance plane would be treated as hostile, and the flankers were about to do exactly that. She keyed her wingman. Viper 2, weapons hot. Let them get close. The trap was set. 0438 hours. Mendoza's formation closed to 60 kilometers. His radar warning receiver remained silent. The F-16 formation had split off, approaching from the southwest to box in the American aircraft. Standard intercept tactics: force the target toward Venezuelan airspace or force it to retreat. At 45 kilometers, Mendoza activated his target illumination radar. The powerful N011M pulse Doppler system locked onto the Rivet Joint immediately, feeding targeting data to his R-77 missiles. The moment he pressed that switch, he signed his own death warrant. 47 kilometers to the northeast, a warning tone sounded in Commander Chen's cockpit. Her passive sensors had detected the flanker's targeting radar. Hostile lock, weapons free. She squeezed the trigger. 2 AM-120D missiles burst from their rails at Mach 4. The AMRAAMs accelerated to nearly 3,000 miles per hour in 4 seconds. Their active radar seekers going hot as they approached terminal guidance range. Chen had fired from beyond visual range, using the Super Hornet's powerful AESA radar to guide the weapons through their mid-course phase before handing them off to their own seekers. Mendoza never saw them coming. His radar warning receiver screamed. But by then, the missiles were already 8 seconds from impact. The first missile struck his wingman's flanker in the left engine intake. The aircraft disintegrated at 23,000 feet, scattering burning debris across 12 square kilometers of ocean. The second missile tracked Mendoza himself. He yanked the Su-30 into a desperate brake turn, dumping chaff and flares as his G-suit inflated against his legs. The missile's proximity fuse detonated 4 meters from his tail, shredding his starboard horizontal stabilizer. His aircraft rolled uncontrollably. Warning lights flooded the cockpit. Eject, eject! He pulled the yellow handle between his legs. The canopy blew away, and the ejection seat fired, hurling him into the freezing Caribbean darkness at 400 knots. Behind him, his crippled flanker spiraled into the sea. 2 flankers down in 12 seconds, and the battle had only just begun. What happens when the remaining 6 Venezuelan fighters realize they are being hunted by enemies they cannot see? The answer rewrites the rules of Caribbean air power. Part 2 coming soon. 0439 hours, 112 nautical miles north of La Guaira, Venezuela. 2 Venezuelan flankers had just been blown out of the sky. Their squadron commander was floating in a parachute somewhere in the darkness below, and the remaining 6 aircraft had no idea where the missiles had come from. The remaining 6 Venezuelan aircraft scattered in panic. Their radar warning receivers erupted with threat tones as the 2 Super Hornets emerged from electronic silence, their AESA radars flooding the airspace with targeting data. The F-16s turned south immediately. Their aircraft carried no beyond visual range missiles. The Israeli-made Python 4 infrared missiles under their wings were useless at 50 kilometers. Staying in the fight meant dying. The two remaining flankers attempted to engage. It was a fatal mistake. Chen's wingman, Lieutenant James Ortega, had already locked all 4 of his AMRAAMs on the approaching Su-30s. He rippled off 3 missiles in quick succession. The first flanker pilot managed to defeat the incoming missile with a combination of chaff and violent maneuvering. The second did not. The AMRAAM struck the flanker's cockpit directly. No ejection, no debris, just a ball of orange fire that hung in the air for 3 seconds before falling toward the waves below. The surviving flanker pilot, Captain Elena Vargas, broke hard right and dove for the deck. She was the best combat pilot in Venezuela's Air Force. It did not matter. Ortega already had an AM-9X tracking the heat signature of her engines. The missile left its rail at Mach 3, its thrust vectoring controls adjusting its flight path 40 times per second. Vargas saw the flash on her canopy mirror. She knew what it meant. She ejected 1.2 seconds before the Sidewinder detonated. Total engagement time, 94 seconds. 4 Venezuelan aircraft destroyed, 2 pilots killed, 2 in the water, 0 American casualties, 0 451 hours. Caracas, President Nicolas Maduro received the news in his underground command bunker beneath Miraflores Palace. 4 aircraft lost, 2 pilots dead, an entire intercept formation shattered in less than 2 minutes, and the American spy plane was still flying its racetrack pattern as if nothing had happened. His defense minister, Vladimir Padrino Lopez, stood rigid at attention. The Americans had escort fighters we could not detect. Our pilots never saw them. Maduro's face contorted with rage. We have 21 flankers, the most advanced fighters in Latin America, and 2 American jets destroyed 4 of them? Padrino chose his words carefully. Sir, their Block 3 Super Hornets carry an AESA radar that can track our aircraft at over 150 kilometers while remaining completely invisible. They fired from beyond visual range. Our pilots never had a chance to engage. The room fell silent. Maduro stared at the situation map on the wall. What I say, marks now covered the positions where his aircraft had fallen. The cost of tonight's disaster was staggering. 4 Su-30MK2 Flankers, each worth $62 million. 2 R-77 missiles expended uselessly. 2 dead pilots who had trained for years in Russia. Total Venezuelan losses, $253 million. American losses, 6 missiles, approximately $4.8 million. A cost ratio of 52 to 1. And the reconnaissance mission continued uninterrupted. At 0600 hours, the RC-135 completed its final orbit and turned north toward Puerto Rico. Its recorders held more than 18 hours of signals intelligence, every radar frequency, every communication channel, every electronic vulnerability in Venezuela's air defense network. The 2 Super Hornets followed at a discreet distance, their weapons bays still holding 5 missiles each. They had fired only 7 rounds between them. The entire engagement had lasted less than 2 minutes. By sunrise, the Pentagon had already scheduled the next reconnaissance mission for 48 hours later. The numbers told the story. Venezuela's Air Force, once the pride of Latin American military aviation, had just suffered its worst defeat in history. 8 fighters scrambled, 4 destroyed, 50% losses in a single engagement, and they never landed a single hit, never fired a single missile, never even achieved a weapons lock on an American aircraft. Defense analysts called it the most lopsided aerial combat in the Western Hemisphere since the Falklands War. 4 decades of Venezuelan military investment, $200 million in Russian aircraft, wiped out in 94 seconds by 2 American jets that cost $67 million each. The mathematics were brutal, like bringing a switchblade to a gunfight, except the other guy had night vision and knew where you were standing before you even left your house. But the strategic implications were worse. Venezuela's remaining flankers were grounded indefinitely while investigators determined what had gone wrong. The F-16 fleet, already crippled by decades of spare parts shortages from American sanctions, offered no solution. The country's vaunted S-300 surface-to-air missile batteries had proven useless against low-flying carrier aircraft operating 100 kilometers offshore. Maintenance logs revealed the true state of Venezuelan air power. Of 21 Su-30MK2s in inventory, perhaps 13 were flyable on any given day. Internal systems questionable, spare parts from Russia arriving months late, pilot training hours cut to a fraction of NATO standards due to fuel shortages. The Maduro regime had just learned a lesson that militaries around the world already understood. You do not win by counting how many aircraft you own. You win by counting how many pilots know how to fight them, how many missiles actually work, and how many enemies you can see before they see you. Against the United States Navy, with its carrier battle groups, its fifth-generation sensors, and its pilots who log more training hours in a month than Venezuelan pilots see in a year. That number could reach zero very, very quickly. The reconnaissance flights continued every 48 hours for the next 3 weeks. Venezuela did not scramble a single interceptor. The reason was simple: they had learned what happened to those who tried. Some battles are fought with missiles and cannon fire, others are fought with silence and the memory of burning wreckage falling into black water. This one was over before it began. The American spy plane had been the bait, the Super Hornets had been the trap, and Venezuela had walked straight into it 52-1. So see, that was the cost ratio. In the arms trade, they have a saying: expensive equipment does not make you dangerous. Training and tactics make you dangerous. Venezuela had spent billions on Russian hardware. The Americans had spent decades learning how to destroy it. The Caribbean learned the difference that night. If you found this analysis compelling, subscribe and share. The next engagement could be even more decisive.